The ship hummed like it was pleased with itself. He stood in the viewing corridor, arms folded tight across his chest, staring at the stars bending into thin silver lines. He muttered under his breath, "I should have married the kettle." No one laughed. The escort unit stood behind him, hands clasped, silent as a statue carved from authority. The vow custodian remained nearby, watching him the way one watches a fragile object that might suddenly explode. Ahead of them, the stars folded once more. The imperial capital appeared. It was not a planet the way Earth was a planet. It was a structure wrapped around a star, layered rings of silver cities, vast floating continents, and towers that pierced space itself. It did not orbit the star. It commanded it. He swallowed. "That seems excessive," he whispered. "It is sufficient," the ship replied. The vessel slid into a docking corridor made of light. The floor beneath his feet steadied, but his thoughts did not. Somewhere inside that impossible city was the girl from the museum. Not a girl anymore. An empress. And she remembered. Arrival. The doors opened without sound. The air inside the palace was warmer than he expected. Soft light glowed from walls that looked alive, as if breathing slowly. Everything was curved. Nothing was sharp. Guards lined the corridor. They were tall, elegant, and dangerous in a quiet way. Their eyes followed him with calm interest. He adjusted his jacket. "I feel underdressed for destiny." No reaction. He cleared his throat. "Is there, perhaps, a casual marriage option?" Still nothing. The escort unit stopped before a massive door made of layered crystal. Symbols shimmered across its surface. The vow custodian stepped forward and placed their hand against it. "The sovereign awaits," they said. His heart beat harder. He had faced exams. He had faced job interviews. He had once faced a very angry landlord. None of that prepared him for this. The doors opened. The Empress. She stood at the center of the chamber. The room was vast, but it felt small because of her. Her hair shimmered faintly, moving as if it obeyed different physics. The pale star-like markings along her collarbone glowed softly. Her eyes still held that thin ring of shifting color. He knew those eyes. She had grown taller, stronger. Her posture was no longer shy. But she was the same. She looked at him as if measuring years in a single breath. "You took your time," she said softly. Her voice had changed. Deeper. Steady. But it carried the same careful precision he remembered. He blinked. "You grew up," he replied. A faint smile touched her lips. "As did you." The room was silent. The vow custodian stepped forward. "The historically pure vow has been presented for fulfillment." She lifted one hand slightly. The custodian stepped back immediately. Her eyes never left him. "Leave us." The guards exited. The doors closed. They stood alone. "The truth." He inhaled slowly. "Okay," he began, hands raised slightly. "Before anything official happens, I would like to present Exhibit A. I was 8. She studied him quietly. "You approached me," she said. "You spoke without fear." "I had sugar," he replied. It was a powerful influence. For a moment, silence stretched. Then, she laughed. Not loud, but real. The sound surprised both of them. "You have not changed," she said. "That is deeply concerning." She walked slowly toward him. The markings along her neck brightened with each step. "When you spoke that vow," she continued, "you did not know what I was." "No," he admitted. "I assumed cursed meteor was the worst option." "I was already bound by imperial law," she said. "Royal blood requires binding vows for ascension stability." He frowned. "I'm going to need that in very simple words." She nodded once. "When I became Empress, the system activated all legally recorded promises connected to my identity. Your vow was the only one categorized as stable and voluntary." He stared. "Wait. Only one?" She nodded again. "No one else ever approached me." The room felt different suddenly. Smaller. Sadder. He remembered the museum. The way she stood alone. "You were lonely," he said quietly. She did not answer. That was answer enough. The problem. He ran a hand through his hair. So this is not about romance, he said carefully. It is about law, she replied. And if we refuse? The empire fractures. He blinked. That seems dramatic. She shook her head slightly. My species links leadership legitimacy to fulfilled keystone vows. If the vow collapses, rival houses will claim instability. Civil war, he whispered. Yes. He stared at her. You're telling me that because 8-year-old me couldn't mind his mouth, an interstellar empire might explode? Yes. He closed his eyes. Fantastic. The choice. Silence filled the chamber. She stepped closer now, but not threatening. If you wish to reject the vow, she said, voice steady, you may. He looked up sharply. Really? Yes. He waited. There will be consequences, she added calmly. Ah, there it is. If you publicly deny the vow, it will be categorized as betrayal of sovereign legitimacy. That sounds like execution. It would not be immediate, she said gently. That is not comforting. She looked at him for a long moment. I do not wish to force you. That caught him off guard. You dragged me across the galaxy. The system did. And you. She hesitated. I remembered. That word felt heavier than law. Human problem solving. He paced slowly across the chamber. He was not a warrior. Not a diplomat. He was a man who argued with kettles. But he was human. And humans were very good at finding strange solutions. Okay, he said finally. Let me understand this correctly. The vow must be fulfilled to stabilize your rule. Yes. But the vow says, I promise to marry you someday. Yes. He pointed upward. Someday is vague. Her eyes flickered slightly. The archive defines it as future undefined. Exactly, he said, excitement rising. Undefined future means it doesn't specify when. That gives us time. She studied him. You suggest delay. I suggest strategy, he corrected. We fulfill the vow legally, but not immediately. She crossed her arms slightly, interested now. Explain. We announce engagement, he said. Engagement counts as intent toward marriage. She considered. The archive requires union contract. Fine. Contract signed. Ceremony postponed under diplomatic alignment procedures. You are inventing terms. Yes, he admitted proudly. It's a human specialty. For the first time, the tension in her shoulders eased. You would remain here, she said. He hesitated. Earth felt very far away suddenly. You need legitimacy, he said slowly. And I need to not die because of my childhood. She nodded. I will not harm you. I believe you. The words surprised them both. The real question. She stepped closer until only a small distance remained between them. When you spoke that vow, she asked quietly, did you mean it? He thought back. Museum lights. Meteor fragment. A lonely girl. He had not understood her. But he had wanted her to smile. I meant that you deserved someone on your side, he said honestly. Her markings brightened faintly. That is sufficient. The announcement. 3 hours later, he stood beside her on a balcony overlooking thousands of Imperial citizens. The sky burned gold behind them. He leaned slightly toward her. I feel like I should have practiced a speech. You will speak naturally, she said. That has historically been the problem. She almost smiled. The vow custodian stepped forward and projected the archived ribbon of his childhood promise above them. It glowed brightly. Murmurs spread through the crowd. She lifted her hand. Silence fell instantly. In accordance with Keystone Vow law, she announced, voice amplified across the city, the historically pure promise has been acknowledged. She turned to him. His heart pounded. He cleared his throat. Hi, he said to an entire empire. No lightning struck. Encouraged, he continued. When I was 8, I made a promise. I did not understand law or politics. I understood only that someone was standing alone. The crowd remained silent. I stand here now not because a system forced me, he continued, voice stronger, but because I believe leaders should not stand alone. The words felt right. He looked at her. I intend to honor my promise. In partnership. In time. The vow custodian hesitated slightly, but the archive ribbon shifted. Status. Fulfillment in progress. The crowd erupted. Not angry. Relieved. Later that night, in a quieter chamber, he exhaled deeply. So, he said, I'm engaged to an Empress. Yes. To prevent galactic war. Yes. And we are buying time. Yes. He nodded. Okay. I've handled worse Mondays. She stepped beside him, looking out at the stars. You could still leave, she said softly. He thought about Earth. About kettles. About ordinary life. Then he looked at her, no longer alone, but still carrying centuries of responsibility. I think, he said carefully, that humans are very bad at walking away from things that matter. Her markings glowed gently. That is why your species concerns the galaxy, she replied. He smiled faintly. Good. The first assassination attempt happened before breakfast. He was still learning how to open the palace shower controls when the glass wall behind him exploded inward. Not shattered. Folded. Like space itself had been pinched and turned inside out. A dark shape stepped through the distortion. Tall. Silent. Armed. The intruder moved with impossible speed. But humans evolved for chaos. He slipped on the polished floor, crashed into the sink, and accidentally kicked a metal stool straight into the attacker's knee. The assassin stumbled. He grabbed the nearest object. It was not a weapon. It was a towel heater. He tore it off the wall anyway. Bad morning, he yelled as he swung it wildly. The assassin blocked the first hit easily. But the second strike connected with the side of the helmet. Not powerful. Just annoying. And sometimes annoying is enough. Security alarm screamed. Guards burst through the door. The assassin activated a self-erasing pulse. And vanished in a ripple of black light. Silence fell. He stood there, breathing hard, holding a broken towel heater like a proud caveman. One of the guards stared at him. You engaged a phase blade operative with a hygiene device. Yes, he replied, chest rising fast. And I won. The political earthquake. Within the hour, he stood beside the Empress in a private war chamber. Floating projections filled the air, red zones, flashing warnings, shifting alliance markers. Her face was calm. Too calm. House Kareth, she said quietly. They test our legitimacy. He rubbed his forehead. So this is because of me. This is because of change, she corrected. The vow custodian appeared in holographic form. Opposition houses claim the human weakens imperial purity. He blinked. Purity. The custodian's pale eyes focused on him. Your species has no empire. No unified genetic design. No vow tradition. Correct, he said. We have memes. The Empress almost smiled. But tension remained. If they prove you unfit, she continued, they may challenge the vow in high assembly. And if they win? Civil fracture. Possibly war. He looked at the map again. So they tried to kill me first. Yes. He nodded slowly. That feels rude. The human problem. He paced. Aliens were elegant. Strategic. Measured. Humans were not built that way. Humans survived by improvising. They think I'm weak, he said finally. They think you are soft, the custodian confirmed. He stopped pacing. Good. 3 pairs of alien eyes focused on him. Good? The Empress asked. Yes, he said firmly. Let them believe that. The assembly. 2 days later, the High Assembly convened. The chamber was massive, a circular hall suspended above a glowing energy core. Representatives from dozens of houses filled tiered platforms. Robes of silver, red, black. Cold eyes. Calculating minds. He stood beside the Empress at the central platform. He wore formal imperial attire now. It still felt like wearing someone else's skin. House Caratha's leader stepped forward. Tall, thin, sharp-featured. Esteemed sovereign, the Carath leader began, voice smooth as glass. We question the stability of this human variable. Murmurs spread. The Empress remained silent. The challenge continued. He lacks training. He lacks heritage. He lacks imperial discipline. All true. He leaned toward the Empress. Should I look offended? Remain still, she whispered. The Carath leader pointed at him directly. Let him demonstrate worth. There it was. A public trial. Of course. He exhaled slowly. Demonstrate how, he asked. The chamber quieted. The Carath leader smiled faintly. Combat. The arena. The arena floor shifted into existence beneath them. Transparent walls rose around the circular space. Energy shields hummed. The Empress turned to him quietly. You may refuse. And that helps how? It confirms their belief. He nodded once. Okay. The opponent entered. A trained Imperial warrior. Armor integrated with reflex enhancers. Energy blade glowing blue. He looked down at his own equipment. None. Is this fair? He asked. No, the Empress answered honestly. He took a slow breath. Humans did not dominate the galaxy with technology. They dominated with stubbornness. The signal sounded. The warrior lunged instantly. Fast. Precise. He barely rolled out of the way. The blade sliced air where his head had been. He scrambled to his feet. Another strike came. He dodged again, not cleanly. The blade grazed his sleeve. The crowd murmured. He was outmatched. Clearly. The warrior moved in for a finishing blow. He did something unexpected. He laughed. Not loudly. Just enough. The warrior hesitated for half a second. Is that all? He said breathlessly. I fought worse in school. Confusion flickered in the opponent's eyes. Humans weaponized unpredictability. The warrior attacked again. This time, instead of retreating, he stepped forward. Too close. Inside the blade's optimal arc. The warrior adjusted. Too late. He slammed his forehead into the warrior's helmet. Pain exploded through his skull. But the warrior staggered. He grabbed the armored arm and twisted. Not elegant. Not trained. Just desperate leverage. The blade clattered to the floor. The crowd gasped. The warrior attempted to recover. He tackled him. Hard. Both crashed to the arena floor. He pinned the warrior's wrist and yelled. Yield. The arena paused. The warrior stared at him. Breathing heavy. Shocked. After a long moment. The warrior tapped the ground. Yield. The chamber erupted. Not in anger. In disbelief. The shift. He staggered to his feet. His lip was bleeding. His head throbbed. But he was standing. The Carath leader looked furious. That was brute chaos, the leader spat. Yes, he replied, wiping blood from his mouth. That's the point. He turned slowly, addressing the assembly. You call us undisciplined, he said. You call us weak. His voice echoed through the chamber. Humans are not the strongest. Not the fastest. Not the most advanced. He took a slow breath. But when something matters, we do not stop. Silence deepened. You built an empire on vows, he continued. We build survival on refusal to quit. He glanced toward the Empress. She does not stand alone. The assembly energy shifted. Not fully convinced. But shaken. The second attack. That night, House Carath escalated. Not subtle this time. 3 stealth ships broke through outer defenses. The palace shields flared red. War sirens echoed through the city. He ran toward the command chamber. Guards moved past him at full speed. Explosions trembled through distant towers. He burst into the control room. The Empress stood before tactical projections. Her eyes glowed brighter now. Focused. Deadly. They target civilian districts, she said. His stomach dropped. Why? To force emergency instability. He stared at the map. We can't just defend, he said. She looked at him sharply. What do you suggest? He thought fast. Humans excelled under pressure. Broadcast the VOW archive citywide. Her expression shifted slightly. Explain. Show them, he said urgently. Remind them what stability means. She hesitated only a second. Do it. The broadcast. Across the capital, screens activated. The childhood ribbon appeared above the skyline. His 8-year-old voice echoed across millions of homes. I promise to marry you someday. Citizens paused. Shields flickered. Warships approached. Then his adult voice followed. She does not stand alone. The message carried across every channel. The Empress stepped forward and spoke clearly. An attack on this union is an attack on stability itself. The crowd below began to gather. Not fleeing. Watching. Supporting. Imperial defense fleets mobilized with renewed force. House Kareth ships faltered. Public sentiment shifted instantly. No house wanted to be seen opposing unity now. The attacking ships retreated. The crisis ended. Aftermath. Hours later, the palace stood intact. Smoke drifted in distant skies. But the city lived. He leaned against a balcony railing, exhausted. She joined him quietly. You changed the field, she said. I panicked creatively, he answered. That is a strength. He looked at her. You could have crushed them alone. Yes, she admitted. But you didn't. No. Silence settled between them. This time, it was not heavy. It was steady. The real turning point. Why did you truly come? She asked softly. He considered the question carefully. At first. Fear, he said honestly. And now? He looked out over the glowing city. At some point, he said slowly, this stopped being about a joke. Her markings brightened faintly. He turned to face her fully. You needed someone who doesn't treat you like a throne. She held his gaze. And you need someone who sees your chaos as strength. A small smile formed. That's dangerously close to affection, he warned. It is strategic appreciation, she replied calmly. He laughed quietly. End of chapter 2. Above them, the Empire adjusted. House Kareth weakened. Public approval surged. The human variable had shifted from liability to symbol. And in distant space, other powers watched carefully. Because now they understood something dangerous. The Empire had not gained a warrior. It had gained a human. And humans did not break promises.